So the Celtics are in the trade rumors again. Shams said that they want Jerami Grant or Vooch. The obligatory Celtics are allowed to trade salary with the trade exception. They cannot make the exception bigger, but they're hard capped. So by trading some money away, that would allow them to use more of the exception. Tristan Thompson's money, Romeo Langford's money, maybe Grant Williams's as well, on top of a whole bunch of draft picks, and that's the most important thing here. Could get a move done. Also, the Celtics need to trade money because that's the only way they could potentially not be in luxury tax hell for the next few years. Now anyway, would Orlando take at least 2 firsts for Vooch? If I was the Magic, I don't think I would. Because to me, they can tank without trading Vooch. I mean, they're already one of the worst teams in the league because of injuries, so most of the work has already been done for them. At that point, you might as well just keep the guy who could actually help you win once Isaac is back and once you draft whoever you're going to draft in this upcoming offseason. Unless, again, the Celtics or somebody else would give you a real haul for Vooch. And in the case of the Celtics, I doubt they would trade Marcus Smart. So again, it would just have to be a whole bunch of draft picks. And I'm not sure Danny Ainge wants to actually move a lot of picks in a deal. I don't think he's afraid to move picks, but I don't think he wants to move multiple in one trade, unless it's for a superstar. And in the case of Orlando, it still might be a matter of having Vooch under contract for the next few years, and then the opportunity to re-sign him after that might be more valuable to them than a couple extra shots at the draft. Especially because with the Celtics, I mean, we would assume, especially if they've got Vooch, they're going to be like in the 20s and stuff. Although this year is still kind of dicey, as we know. So that one is a little tough. We'd have to see. In terms of any other teams that might want Vooch, I mean, he's a center, and centers are always kind of tricky on the trade market. It's the type of thing where I could picture a few bad teams wanting Vooch, especially because he's under contract for a while, but if you're bad, you shouldn't be giving up any draft picks. And then when I look at the good teams in the league, and I'm just thinking, well, who would make a major play for a center? And it's tough because it's either a team has a good center already, or they don't have many assets to move. Like the Clippers, Lakers, and Blazers don't have picks to trade. And for the Blazers, it's because their picks for the next 7 years are locked up in protections from the Covington deal. And I feel like San Antonio is in a similar spot as the Celtics, where they might trade for somebody if it's kind of a steal, but I don't think they would move actual stuff for a guy like Vooch. I think you can put Dallas in here as well because they have already sent out picks to the Knicks, and they're right on the cusp of the play-in tournament right now. So to get it back to the Celtics on Vooch, if I was Orlando, I wouldn't start thinking about it until you had 3 picks on the table, and I just don't think Danny Ainge is going to go there. As far as Vooch's fit on the Celtics, I mean, to me, if they had a 5 who was a real threat and can beat switches and make passes up top and be a 3-point shooter, I think it would do a lot for them. And then defensively, I mean, the Magic have been really good on that side of the floor with Vooch playing heavy minutes. Not that I think he's a great defensive 5, but if they can do it, I figure Brad Stevens can do it. Although there's still fear that he would suck against Embiid. Anyway, if we can get to Jerami Grant now, I don't know if it's as safe of a bet for the Pistons to view Grant as essential to their future, the way that the Magic, to me, would view Vooch. And there's a chance that the Pistons front office would look at it as, this is the best season of this guy's career. We can get something pretty good for him. This said, it's still the same thing with the Celtics. Is Danny Ainge actually willing to give up picks? How many would it take for the Pistons to be like, okay, we'll do this? But even there, I think it's dicey. More so with Grant than Vooch, although some of this applies to Vooch as well. It's like, from the Pistons' perspective, they're losing a 20-plus point scorer, so they're going to want probably an extra pick or 2. Whereas for the Celtics side of things, it's like, well, Grant isn't going to average 20 points a game with us. I mean, he shoots 18 times a game. That's not going to happen when he's playing next to Tatum, Jalen, and Kemba. So they don't want to give up as many picks but the Pistons wouldn't agree with that, so I don't really know what the middle ground would be. As far as Jeremy Grant's fit on the Celtics, I mean, again, it would be less shots, and he has proven to be an actual shot creator this year, and I mean, he's having possessions in the pick and roll, he's shooting a lot of threes, he is really good at just keeping his dribble alive and just going to the basket to draw contact and get into the line, and I mean, he's even hitting like contested mid-range shots. And earlier in the season, the percentages on those were really good. They haven't been as good lately. I think from the Celtics side of things, you could look at it as we'd be getting a, 16-point scorer, because he's just not going to shoot as many times in the Celtics, who can defend, because you imagine he'd be able to put more energy into defense, and can make a play off the dribble. Like, we can have this guy part of our offense, and he can be part of the drive and kick thing that was so effective for them last season, and it would just give them another guy who can defend a few positions and switch and then make a play off the dribble, make threes. I mean, Grant's three-point shooting has been a lot better this season, of course, but it comes back to what would the Pistons really want for him, and would they even want to move him? I mean, if they can draft somebody good this offseason, pair that guy up with Grant, who is this, on an ideal situation, he's probably more of like a 17-point guy. Like, if Jeremy Grant's your leading scorer, you're not that good. But he's proving that he can do more and be potentially a number 2 or number 3 guy on a good team. So there's reason to keep him. But if there's enough going back to you, then maybe you'd move him. If I could speculate on other teams, if Grant is actually available similar to Vuce, I mean, I'm sure Denver would love to have Grant back. Ironically, they have 3 years of picks locked up because of when they originally traded for Jeremy Grant. I guess another team I would think about, maybe the Pelicans. I mean, they've got the picks if they want them. And they got it from the Lakers and the Bucks. Once again, it just comes back to, is Danny Ainge willing to really move picks like that? Does he want to simply wait for the offseason when a sign and trade could open up, or just, teams have cap space and it just makes trades a little easier? The other thing the Celtics could do is just put Tristan Thompson and some of their other smaller contracts together with a pick and then go for somebody who makes, I don't know, like $14 million a year or something. And then they would still have the trade exception for, if something else opens up, they'd probably have to give up more picks. And I don't know if they'd want to do that, but there's that, or, the offseason again. So we'll see what they want to do. Is Danny Ainge just going to keep drafting whoever? I mean, to be fair, Pritchard and Robert Williams are pretty good. Those could be some keepers.